What is it?
Her name is Sasha.
She's a shit talker sometimes.
Monique. Damn, Monique.
Beautiful face, Drake.
Beautiful face. Yeah.
Face.
Shut up, Monique.
It's almost like imagining your brain sitting next to you in the car, and it's constantly like, and it's like, shut up. And I was laughing out loud the other day because I went to Michael's and it was closed. And
What time did you go?
no,
She's
like
like
the
10
store was
o'clock.
closed.
Oh, closed.
And sorry, I'm eating. Yeah, it was closed, and I forgot what I said, but I said something out loud. Like I said something out loud. I don't know what I said, but I was like, "Curse you, Michaels!" You know, I'm like, "Dang, Sasha!" And I laughed out loud because it was me implementing this whole new. I'm giving it a name. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. I was listening to this podcast, and it was this psychiatrist, psychologist, I don't know the difference. Anyways, one of those therapists, and he was talking about giving your brain a name and how, in a sense, it kind of helps you, like, at least the way that I interpret it, it's like it helps you kind of separate a little bit, and it helps with, in my opinion, the negative self-talk, because then I can tell my brain, like, hey, like, relax up there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you separate, but it's still your responsibility. It's almost like a pet. Like Roscoe belongs to me. So I have to, so Sasha belongs to me. So I have to train her and help her to be a better brain. Yeah.
Better dog. I mean, brain.
Yeah.
And that really does separate like the awareness too, because it makes you so much more aware when you're saying something. Because I was reading a book that it said the next day, every time you have a judgmental thought, write it down.
The next day.
Yeah, because it was like start fresh tomorrow. The moment you wake up, you'll start to realize how many things you like in your head you're saying that are so judgmental, whether it's to yourself or about someone else.
Yeah.
Like even just like, why did you park there? Like I usually park
Isn't
there.
that
Like
crazy?
you're judging that person for parking in your
You're
parking
taking my spot.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But now that you say that, it's clear to see how abrupt and how loud your brain can be with seven. Like if it wasn't, and this is another podcast too that I listened to before or a book, but it's almost like imagining your brain sitting next to you in the car and it's constantly like, and it's like, shut up. So yeah, but I like that. I like that exercise.
Yeah. Become way more aware of the shit you're saying.
Yeah. How long did you practice that for?
A day.
You're like, that's all I needed to learn it and implement it. We're good. Now, brain.
Like again, like I said, it makes you very aware. Makes you very aware of what you are thinking constantly. So now, obviously, I'm not writing it down, but I know, like, relax. Like it could be something as little as like, I don't know, something like the Michaels thing, like. You're closed?
Yeah.
Like,
I was so upset.
and you're judging Michael for not being open.
Yeah.
So it's like, relax.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's not their fault.
Yeah, that's exactly what I told Sasha. I was like, dang, girl, like, what is going on up there?
Like, why are you so mad?
Why are you so mad? Yeah, it's funny. And was it this morning or yesterday morning, my roommate and I were talking about me going to the gym. And I was like, it was a crazy leg day. Because it was tough. It was so tough. And I remember wanting to leave. I was talking to myself and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why? I could leave right now, you know? And so I was talking to my roommate and I had already told her that I had named my brain. And she's like, Sasha. I'm like, yeah, she was so intense yesterday. So it's just kind of a funny thing. But I'm like, yeah. She's crazy sometimes. So I love it.
What's your positive self-talk name?
Well, it's the same brain. So
Sasha, good Sasha and bad Sasha.
yeah. So it's not just bad, but it's like she has everything. You know, she has her good days and she has her bad days. So yeah. But I have been practicing more positive self-talk too. That's important. Yeah, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, I mean, we all have days. It's not like every day was like, oh, it's so positive, and again, rainbows and butterflies and pancakes.
Puppies and tall kids.
Yeah, I was like, what's the ones that you say? But like every day we go through it. It's not like just, oh, we're one and done. Like every day we go through it and have to kind of push through. So I even like the way that you named it in that way. I'm over here like, my name is Monique. Like, damn it, Monique. Like, shut up.
I like that. That works. Molly, Monique.
I love it. I had to go with your theme. It sounded like it was
that's what I was going
theme.
for. And for some reason, that's the first thing that came up. Sasha. She's spicy. She talks shit. Like, all kinds of stuff. But she's also very nice to herself sometimes.
Yeah.
Working on that more and more.
Good.
As you should. What would your brain name be?
I don't know. I've never even thought of like an alter ego either name. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I've never given it the time to think about because I know that a lot of people have their like party name too. Like once they've gone on to the like dark side when they drink a little too much, like they have a name. And they're like, oh, like,
do you have one of those?
Like Carly? No, I don't. Like I've never given myself like, I'm a different person.
No, her name is Drake, remember? Like we named her Drake way back when.
We did.
Yeah, I don't, because I like to think I'm very consistent, but at the same time, I'm like, I guess I could give, I don't know. I've never given it any thought.
It's okay. We'll come back. We'll circle back.
Arthur.
We'll pin that in the calendar.
EOD.
EOD. Actually, SD. Same day. See?
Yeah.
That was your thing.
What was that?
That was your whatever.
Yeah. I don't think it's a thing in the real world.
No.
Because when you guys said that, you're like, oh, I'd never heard of it. I'm like,
Damn it.
that's because I made it up. Dang it. Is this not
It's
how
not
this works?
catching on.
It's not catching on. EOD, end of December, I will get it right to you.
And they're like, oh, no. It is crucial that you get it to us by the end of today.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my goodness. I mean, last week, let's go through a couple of things. So last week was a crazy, I felt very emotional week for me. There were a lot of technical difficulties and you guys were all kind of there for it. And I brought it back to my husband because I told him like, after all of the technical difficulties happened, I just had a shit day. And then Sandra kindly was just like checking in. She popped out of her office and was like, hey, just checking in as a friend. Like, how are you doing? I walked away and just left. Like,
I was like, okay.
Yeah. And that was my physical talk, hand gestures, because, like as someone that's like running this department where I feel like I'm learning or going through the same learning patterns over and over again with this audio issue. Like I still haven't figured it out. It's just been something that we don't do super consistently. So I'm not practicing that live session or streaming all the time. And so it really hit me like very emotionally, like you suck, like you're not capable. And at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not my job. Like, is it my job? It's not my job. It's fucking sucks. Like it just is stupid. Right. And then I had, thankfully, just the support of like you guys and like everyone on my team just like being there for me because it is a like a full-time job, right? IT, audiovisual, all of that stuff. And it's not necessarily like I am giving time to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I was going through it. I even got like a wave of sickness throughout the entire end of the week over to the weekend. I really felt like I got hit by a bus.
Which makes sense though, right?
And it really hit like, oh my God. Like I had multiple Christmas parties over the weekend, which I literally canceled except the one that Charles's company event we just ended up going to. But like on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, literally in bed or on the couch, really freaking resting. And so it was not necessarily negative self-talk at the end of the week, but it was just like a reminder. You're like, your health is the only thing that you can take care of. Mental health right now is going to be a big driver into getting yourself better. So I had to like constantly remind myself, I'm like, I am laying on the couch for 8 hours, 8, 10, 12 hours because my body is literally screaming like, you need this. Like you need this right now. And it's crazy because as someone that like really loves going, like when you get hit by a bus, you're just like, fuck. Like, why did this happen to me? Like, why at this time? And it really took me back to the time I had gotten COVID, like that flashback moment of like, oh, you're sick during the holidays. Like, you're not going to be able to see anyone anymore. And then I got like very like in my head on the couch.
And did that help at all thinking that way?
No. Like I was just sulking in my feelings, literally. And then I even had to text my mom because my mom follows me on Instagram. And if I'm not posting for like a day or two, like she'll worry.
Where's Molly?
Like, is she okay? And I texted her. I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm just letting you know I'm being sick. I'm a little sick. And she's like, oh, my God, do you need anything? Like, I was worried about you. Like, I didn't see, like, she literally said that. She's like, I didn't see you posting. I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. But it helps just to, like, get it out, right? Because I hate the specific feeling of being alone or feeling alone. And so when you kind of just like share like your experience, like, hey, I'm being sick, like the amount of people that were like, oh, please get better, like sending good vibes your way, or like, is there anything that you need? Or like you reached out, you're like, how are you feeling better? Like all of those pieces, like it just helps me feel like, oh, there are people there having my back. I need to get better ASAP. Like, and that, you know, as far as the negative self-talk, it was just like, Molly, you're not horrible. You're not a horrible person for getting sick, or you're not taking your vitamins or whatever. But it's just like, okay, well, here we go again. Like we got to just get better and get healthier and things will be okay. Like we're alive. And I get back into that moment of being grateful of being alive.
Yeah. I did have that thought after you got sick.
Yeah.
And I remembered the week that you had, and I couldn't help but to correlate. Make the correlation with both. I was like, well, this kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That just shows you, though, that your health literally goes hand in hand with how you mentally are doing.
Yeah.
If you're stressed out, you're more susceptible to being sick.
Yeah.
You're more susceptible to migraines. You're more susceptible to a lot of things. And it sucks because it's a holiday, so you had extra stress. Yeah. Of like, I don't want to be sick because I'm not going to be able to see people. Yeah. And then you're like, but I'm stressed out because of work. Yeah. And then you're like, but I got to get better before Monday because I have to be back in the office. So it's like
a stack of everything.
Everything. Yeah. And I came into the office on Monday morning. I'm like, okay, I was like at 70%, like out of like the 20-30% I was feeling over the weekend. Yeah. So that was a bigger jump. And I just needed to take it. Like I had to. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? It's okay. Like life is still good. At the end of the day, it's still good. We're here in Orange County, California. Like the rain is happening. I'm waiting for snow. Like
I was telling people yesterday when I was entertaining the lobby, they were like, oh, it's supposed to rain. And I'm like, but the mountains are going to look beautiful. And they're like, what? And I was like, Christmas and then the mountains, and they're like, okay. And I was like, sorry, perspective.
Like the mountains, like snowy holiday season, like I'm craving that for sure.
Well, and someone was like, you think this is cold? And I was like, I'm sorry, where are you from? He goes, Canada. And I'm like, okay, sir. Born and raised in California. I'm sorry. 65 degrees is freezing for me.
I know.
Nice. And surprisingly, though, I think that it looks colder than it actually is these couple of days.
Even in the morning when I've gotten up to go to the gym, I'm like, I don't need my jacket.
Yes. Yeah. I put on my coat. I brought up my coat. I think because I saw you wearing your coat, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's coat season. So I brought mine out to wear on Monday, and I was like, Sandra, you're ridiculous. You do not.
I'm sweating.
Oh, there's negative self-talk there.
I was like, well, yeah. In a way, maybe the ridiculous part, but you know, Sasha was like, hey, you don't need this. I was like, you're right. So I left it in the car.
It's coat season.
But what were some of the things that you found yourself telling yourself while you were sick to get yourself out of that negative self-talk?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I very much was a self-proclaimed baby to my husband. I was like, I'm just going to let you know I'm going to be a baby all weekend, so you're going to have to take care of me, right? So because I am sick. you take care of me. And so as he's taking care of me, I'm just like appreciative of his support and guidance, and like literally going to stop by and get like medicine. He went to go get groceries to make some soup. And as he's doing that, I'm just sitting there just like, well, I'm very thankful. Like if I don't have that, like I have to do that all myself. And so as I'm like getting myself out of this rut, like especially even on Sunday night where I'm like, okay, I have to get up in the morning and get ready for work and all that stuff. I'm like, no, you get to go into work. Like you love what you do. Like even though that there's moments of these ebbs and flows of like things suck or were very stressful because, you know, the big boss came into town earlier that week. I'm like, Dad, it's not the end of the world. And I know that. And I know that once I just get myself back into like the flow of things, like I like coming into the office because it gives me like that shell of the persona that I want, right? Because there are like pros and cons of like working from home and working in the office, right? The pro in the office is that the camaraderie that we have, like we're able to see each other, even though it's sometimes just like peeking in and saying hello. But that to me in itself is like the community that we're building, even in office, like it really brings me back up into light, right? Because I can sulk at home and be like, oh, I'm not getting anything done. But no, I was like, Sunday night, I'm preparing. I had tea. I'm like, you got this. You're waking up in the morning. Just take some medicine before you go into work, just so I'm not all coughing and nasally. And that really just kind of helped me through it. Again, at the end of the day, we're alive. I am well, getting better. And I have the people that support me and understand that there are going to be these moments of, oh, Molly's not always sunshines, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. In Patrick David's Your Next 5 Moves, he talks about how he had like 3 full-blown like burnouts that he was having to be taken to the hospital because he was working so hard that he would literally work to the point of exhaustion, and that he'd literally have to go get an IV, he'd have to go to the hospital, whatnot. And so it's like a matter of being aware that when you are okay, go 100%, because there's gonna be those times that you're like, fuck it, I'm fine to relax and sleep because I need it, as opposed to like, no, you always have to be on 100%, doesn't even matter, because then that's negative self-talk when you're sick too. And that doesn't help. So it's like being okay because you know you've done the work. Being okay because you know my team isn't going to think that I'm just doing fucking nothing and fucking off. It's I've done everything, and for them, they're going to be like, fuck, she needs that, you know, as opposed to like, what are you doing at home? Are you relaxing on a Saturday? Yeah. What?
And, and again, it's like an identity crisis to me because I teach normally all week. Or like all weekend, I mean. And so it was like very much like, oh, you're just sulking in bed because you're so sick or resting or whatever. I'm like, I actually, if I think about it, I haven't had 2 days off like that in a long time for myself at home. Like even if like we go on vacation or whatever, like it's still we're still traveling and doing work, or doing some type of activity, and like it's still could be strenuous. But I haven't had those moments. And so I was actually very thankful to literally have 2 rest days. Granted, I was sick, but that really put me back into perspective. Like I'm still fantasizing about the day I have at least 1 rest day. Like I'm still fantasizing about that day. I don't know when it's going to happen. Hopefully now I'm just thinking like, okay, if I could shift my weekends off so that I have at least 1, maybe I can. But I think about the people that I'm serving or teaching, right? And I'm like, they continue to tell me like, if you cancel this class, I'm going to be really sad. So I have pressure.
You have to show up.
You know, like others. I show up for others so much that like even Charles is like, I don't know how you do it. Like I really don't, because he sees it. He's like the only person that physically sees like what I'm doing, and like how many people I'm like offering services to or like my energy to. And he's like, sometimes I have no idea how you do it. I'm like, I know, I have no idea, but.
I think that all of this has happened for a reason too. Like you said, it put you back into a different kind of perspective to think about you needing that rest. But the way I see it is you you offer yourself to all of these people, which is great, but if you don't protect the golden goose, you will not be able to help those people.
Yep.
Because you're not taking care of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd like to think that those people who, love how much support you give them would be gracious enough to allow you one rest day a month.
I know.
Because they love you and care about you just as much as you do for them.
Yeah. And we always say, like, it's really important to schedule recovery time, right?
Yeah.
But do we, like, I don't, because I'm like,
I know.
and it's not until you're down in the dumps that you're like, oh, I need to schedule recovery. And then you think like, oh, I'm going to be good. But then you start feeling so much better that you get back into the routine of doing a ton of things.
I know.
Like, fuck. And then you do it again.
I'm already feeling that.
I'm the worst. Like Saturday, we had our launch.
Yeah.
So it was like I'd worked all week. Then Saturday had our launch. So we were doing all of that until late in the day. And then my mom was like, oh, you want to go grab dinner? And I was like, okay. And like, I felt so bad because the entire time I'm like
doing work.
Yeah. But then I got home and I was like, what's on the TV? And so I watched a murder mystery and I was stoked and I went to bed at 8:00 and I was like, that was my recovery for the week, the month, whatever. But I think like scheduling little times maybe periodically, because I know that you don't have full days to give yourself, but maybe scheduling from here and there, a certain day, certain night.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know as the year ends, because we have just a couple of more weeks throughout the end, everyone's like always like they're trying to schedule time, right? They're like, oh, I want to schedule time before the event, da, 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 da. And I'm like, I don't have any more time to give. Right. So I'm at this point currently setting some boundaries in regards to that, and like just kind of just taking time for myself, because even though I'm like, I'm so sorry, like I just need time. Like I had even one of my oldest girlfriends that I've known for a while, like trying to hang out, and I'm like, I am so sorry. Like I cannot. She's like, okay, I really understand. Like they will be gracious. They are gracious. It's just, it is my head like, oh no, you have to do it. Shut up, Monique.
Yeah, even my therapist, she's like, okay, I have no more sessions available until like next year. I'm like, what? Right? What if I go crazy? Just kidding.
See?
No, like, but it's true. Like, I'm like, okay, well, makes sense. You set your boundaries.
Who do I talk to?
Yeah. Who is Sasha going to lay it all?
Lay it out on the table.
Well, prima. I'm just kidding. On call Molly.
You can.
I have no more time.
But I think I think you brought up a good point without bringing up a point about the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like not just that. Of course, everyone that's coming into town that maybe moved away, and they're like, "Oh, I want to see you," but you're like in between everything else that I'm doing with family. Yeah. But then also when you're showing up to family events, like there's always going to be someone that you know is going to maybe push a button or two, and you're like. Right? Mm-hmm. But then, I mean, for some people, I thankfully don't have the situation, but some people might leave a family event thinking, are they right? Are they, what they're saying? Does that have any truth in it? Mm-hmm. Because then it's like, if they're saying something negative to you, it's really a reflection of what they're thinking about themselves. But then you're like, like how many people are single and are showing up to a family event and they're like, when are you getting married? Do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like, or when are you having kids? And it's like, let me live, Mm-hmm. So I think that also brings judgment, not just of that person, but of yourself, because then you're like, am I supposed to be doing the things that my family members, the people that know me the best are saying about me? So I think that is a really good point, that kind of have to go into it with such a like Zen energy. Yeah. That you're going to be able to get in, enjoy, get out, and have a great time.
Yeah. Do you guys have those family members that you're not necessarily super close with? And then when you show up to these events, like your family parties, and you kind of, do you go towards them and talk to them, or do you kind of stay away?
Well, on my side of the family, I fucking love my family.
Yeah.
And everyone's super supportive. I hope this doesn't get clipped onto Instagram. but like mother-in-law stereotype, right?
Yeah.
Like she told me, she goes, Hey, you made it onto the Christmas card this year, by the way, even though you're not a. Don't clip this and put this on Instagram. But I was so like, why? Like, what? And even for like Sarah's wedding, she had me get out of the family picture because she was like, you're not a brevig yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, and even Sarah was like, Mom, what? Like, you know, there's certain things that are
families
said,
do that. Yeah, I know exactly.
You know, that like sometimes, and maybe it's just because you assume your mother-in-law is going to be like your mom. Like, I have a great relationship with my mom, but it's not like if my mom said something like that, I would be able to like tell her constructively, like, WTF, but I can't, right, with his mom.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, that is, but I completely understand the dynamic.
What's your self-talk at that point?
Well, me and Chris kind of stew in it, and Chris is like, she's just crazy, like, leave it alone. Mm-hmm. But my self-talk is, I'm like, okay, thanks. I was on the Christmas card this year. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. But I don't have any like negative self-talk. I'm just very judgmental of her, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. You know, like I judge like, why are you that way? You know, because it's like,
I think parents do that though. Like I've seen that happen, especially like at family or like at weddings or something
moms
like that.
That only have one son or have sons, you know, like sons, I think to moms are different.
Oh yeah.
And when you're the one that's taking them away, like, so I don't know. Don't clip that, please. Leave that on the podcast.
Just leave it along for her.
First clip, she's going to tag me as a collaborator.
Is your mother-in-law on Instagram?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, she is?
Yep, she is.
Okay, my mother-in-law is on TikTok, so.
Oh, my mom is too. She loves the DIYs. Today I found this on TikTok. Let's try it out. And I'm like, you're insane.
That's so funny.
But anyways, you were asking, do you have people in your family that you feel that way?
We usually stick to our like direct, like close family.
Immediate family?
Yes, thank you. Immediate family during the holidays. So I haven't experienced that, no. And sometimes we'll have birthday parties and things like that with my dad's, my uncle. Mm-hmm. So like that side of the family. But I don't think that we've built, at least personally, built enough relationship to kind of see all the drama that's going on. Mm-hmm. And I'd just rather keep it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thankfully, no.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. My,
I can't say the same.
Oh, but yeah. You guys have.
Yeah. We have interesting drama, but we don't have to lay it out on the table. But every year I have my family member who we are not close at all at this point. And it's always an awkward, like, not even a hug. It's just like a, and then, because I'm a hugger, right? But then like with this particular family member, always just, I'm trying to see if there's any like conversations I can start to continue our family dynamic, because there's like only one person that has some beef with me. And we haven't gotten there yet. And as much as I really want to work on it, there's still like a shell of protection, I feel, on their side. And we'll see if anything changes. It has not for the last few years. I want to say like 5 years. Yeah, it's been a long time, but
we'll really need some like come to Jesus moment to want to change.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated if anything changes.
In the right time, it'll happen.
Yeah,
when it needs to. It'll surface.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sasha, how's it going in there?
It's going well. Yeah. You thought about what would be another name if it wasn't. I'm like, you know what? I thought about, I was like, well, her name could be Sage.
Her name is Sage.
Sage is
yeah.
Sasha.
Sage is,
like that actually works really well. I like that.
Super.
Mm-hmm. Where was I that I came across, and I think where was I? I don't know if it was a restaurant or a cafe, but it was called Sage and Ash.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know where the
Sage and Ash.
And I was like,
that.
ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
It was like written on the side of like an old building too.
Mm-hmm. Fullerton? No, I don't know. It just seems like somewhere you would be around, like Placentia. That's why. I don't know, because Placentia, Anaheim. You were in Orange.
I don't know. Anyways, let's not spend any more time on that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're like, let's just move on from this thought.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a question. And the question is, go ahead.
So yesterday I was getting my hair done with Carly.
Okay.
And so Carly's on her own health journey. She's going through holistic doctors and whatnot. And so me and her kind of like rap about like things that we have found, we've learned about just things that we think are very normal, but like now we're changing things. Like she eats different things, drinks different things because of what her holistic doctor has found in her blood work, whatnot. And so yesterday she goes, what's the one thing that you start judging people hard on now that you've like learned what is healthy, what's not healthy? Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Milk.
Well,
wait, like whole milk or oat milk or almond
milk? Because I sent it to her, and because oats are not easily digestible.
Yeah,
and so oat milk, and even if you look at the ingredients,
I still love oat milk.
I still do too, but
I still love oat milk.
I still do too. But I've been going on this whole train with you about milk after you planted the seed about how horrible oat milk is. And so I've tried wherever I can, like, okay, let me do regular milk. And I did yesterday I had, and I was like,
whole milk?
Why the fluff did I listen to Drake? Like,
but okay, what kind did you have? Raw organic milk?
No.
Okay, that's where you have to go.
But my thought process, I know. But my thought process is like, okay, I'm having this coffee. I'll just put some half and half, or something like that. And in my head, I'm having this conversation. Sasha and I are having this conversation about like, damn it, see, Dre's talking about this milk stuff and and like, look at what it's done to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all like a trial and error for sure.
I'm just laughing because.
Wait, is it milk though, or is it something else?
So I was drinking almond milk because I remember oat milk didn't sit well with me.
Yes.
So almond milk was the only one because I even tried cashew milk and I was like 2%, does not sit well with me. I also get super bloated. So I was like almond milk. And then in like watching all these videos where you kind of like go down a rabbit hole of looking at the ingredients on those milks, it's like, it's not almonds and water.
Yeah.
It's gum. It's nitro, whatever. It's things you can't even know what they are.
Yeah.
If you're looking at your ingredients and you don't understand what is on them, don't drink it. Or be aware that that's what you're drinking and that it actually is not as healthy as you think it is. Right? So then Carly had said, I was drinking milk, which is the like whole almond milk with water, Himalayan salt. Those are the ingredients. And then she was like, but like it makes you constipated, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, makes sense. And so she was like, try whole raw milk.
Yeah.
And so bought that, mind you, very expensive. But I tried that and not bad. But then my body was fine with it, except I started to break out. And so then I'm like, okay, what am I going to fucking do? So then we were talking yesterday and she was like, what is the one thing now that you start to judge people on? Now that you know, like, what is in things or how people are eating or just, like, the truth about just the American diet. And she was like, I was like, let me think about that. And she goes, the Starbucks drinks. And I was like,
oh.
Like, those videos of, like, chai. This is cold brew.
Okay.
Cold brew. The chai, like, what do you call it? Just
chai
lattes. The amount of sugar that's in them, or like the matcha drinks that are at Starbucks, the amount of sugar that's in them, like things like that. It's like, okay, yeah. So that was one thing that we just like stewed on things that we judge people on. But she was like, but I'm trying. She said that she's having a really hard time not calling people out for it. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, I kind of just have to let people do their own thing. Like, they're in their own journey. And I was like, I totally agree with you.
It's like religion. You know what I mean? You want to try to, like, impose it on somebody, but you can't. you have to let people go through their own.
About it, I'm all open to tell you about it, but I'm not gonna be like.
Yeah. No, after you sent me those videos, though, I turned around and sent them to my brother. Because I'm like, I want you to make different choices. Yeah. You walk into my brother's room, and there's literally snacks upon snacks of just all kinds of things. And I'm like, no. Yeah. So he's going through his own journey, though. Yeah. And I have to influence wherever I possibly can kindly. But also for my sake, I have to let go and just, like, he's going to be great. He's going to be fine. He's going to find his own way and let it go.
Yeah. I try to do that with my parents, but it's like with my mom, because she's had cancer in the past, I'm like, when she was going through chemo, we only ate Whole Foods. We only, shopped at Whole Foods. We only ate things and cleaned them and whatever because their immune system is so shot that you need to be able to eat really good food and not screw with it. And then once she was done, we went right back to the diet that they had, which is not bad at all. But there's certain things that I've learned, like don't deep fry your food in canola oil because it only has a certain burning point, right? That can be healthy or toxic to you. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, don't do that. Let's air fry these things. And they're like, let us live. And I'm like, but I want you to live, like that's what I want.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that. This weekend I was driving to my house and I FaceTimed my parents, and they were at a restaurant. They were eating like a burger or something. And my dad's like, look what you're missing out on. And I was like, Dad, it's okay. He's like, come on, you just enjoy yourself a little. I'm like, Dad, I do, okay?
You're like, I Raising Cane's do, I do.
I do. But it's the same thought. I'm like, the same thought where it's like, it's fine in moderation. Don't eat it all of the time. But I do find myself in that same space where I want them to make better choices.
Yeah. It's just hard.
It is hard.
Because I really try. And then I'm like, you see how grandma's going through Alzheimer's? Like, that is inflammation of the brain, and that's from eating the wrong things. And then my mom, like, flips. She's like, that's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the way you guys drink Monster and eat certain things, like, 20 years down the road, I don't want to be dealing with senile parents. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your lives. Mm-hmm. And for them, it's like, that's not going to, like, they become very defensive, because it's telling you, like, you're going to get super unhealthy or something worse, some kind of sickness that for them, they see as inevitable, but I see super preventative. So I'm like, I'm constantly battling that. And
I just had an interesting thought when it comes down to our parents in general, because, like, we're advocates of trying to stay healthy and like eat as clean as we possibly can. And our parents, completely different generation. Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder like what kind of thought process they see about us and like what we're doing. Like, do you think that their perspective is just like, well, we're old, so like we could just do whatever the hell we want and like we can't change at this point? Because sometimes I think about my mom specifically, like my mom and my dad, where their health choices are not necessarily aligned with what I would do. Like same thing. They love, like I love going to their place because they'll fry all of the freaking, they'll essentially make their own tortilla chips, right? Like, cause they fry it, right? And I consume that fucking shit. But then knowing that if they do that on a daily, like that's not healthy, right? Like in moderation, great. But like if you're doing it every day, because I have a feeling that they kind of do that kind of stuff every day. It makes me wonder like what they think, or like if their self-talk, if you will, like if they're trying to stop their ways, right? Like they want to, but they can't, right? Like how do we help them see it and like help them shift and change? Because it's going to take a longer time for them to shift that mindset, I think. Like I'm thinking about our parents, right? Like,
right. I think they see us as kind of like, bad terminology, don't put this on Instagram, but like health Nazis. Yeah. You know, like they think that our generation is all about kale smoothies and yoga, which like granted, I think in Orange County, common, right?
Yeah.
Like the chances that you've done yoga and maybe drank a kale smoothie because someone told you, like 100% maybe. But for them, it's like they didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
And they're only seeing a different generation that they're being told this generation is less productive, more about their feelings, don't work as hard. And so they're like, that's probably why, you know, they're focused on so many other things. Because I think for us, we're taking our health so much more significant to our life, as opposed to for them, it was success, getting a good job, getting married, and having kids, right? Like, I think that's how they see it. Because my mom's like, I don't give a shit what you're eating. Go get married and start popping out some kids. Right? Like, I think that their priorities were just different, and they were hardwired differently because that's how their parents hardwired them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying on the last podcast with Sabs, where we were talking about money, right? And I think that depending on where you are in your need, like life-wise, you have the luxury to worry about health, as opposed to I have to figure out how I can just eat alone. Like, who cares what I eat as long as I get something to eat.
Yeah.
So when you live a certain lifestyle, I think that you are given the opportunity to worry about different things, which is what you're saying with your parents.
Generationally,
it was more so getting here, you know, making sure that they build a life where they can raise you guys. Right. So they're, to some degree, I'm sure that they were concerned about your health and what you ate, but not to the level that you're paying attention to it now.
Yeah, because I think also back then in the 90s, like, going to McDonald's is normal because McDonald's was awesome, you know? Like, things like that, they didn't see it as an issue, or eating certain things, because I don't think that there was so much of a spotlight on the American diet, so-called, right? So I think that maybe that's why, because it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's a great point. Yeah. That really is a good point.
When I think about my parents, and I'm thinking, okay, how do they see me, you know, or how are they thinking? And I think that my parents think that I either don't eat or I'm like always at the gym.
Yeah. Same.
I like, because that's, otherwise he wouldn't make that comment of, Sandra, you got to live a little, you know, have a burger. And it's like, Dad, I go to In-N-Out. I have my Raising Cane's.
I have my moments.
I have my moments. So I think about it, and I do see him like, oh, my daughter's probably at the gym right now. Like, she looks fine. Like, why is she still working out? Why is she, you know, da-da-da-da. But it's like, no, Dad.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
I think it's also a matter of having foreign parents, because I was actually watching a reel, and it was this girl, and she was intentionally, like, she had a big plate of food, and she was like, I'm not hungry. And her parents are Cuban. And so you could hear in the video, and she had the video propped up, like filming her, and she was like, no, I'm done. I'm not hungry. And the mom literally is like, you're gonna eat. And this chick is like 30 years old. And the mom's like, you gotta eat. I made it healthy for you. Like, you don't even eat. Look at her bones. Like, she doesn't have any, you know, meat on her bones. It was just funny because I was like, that's so true. Like, imagine telling a Hispanic parent even Filipino parent, like, I'm okay. I don't need to eat.
No. That's why when I go home, I try to make it I try to to eat. I'm like, okay, I'll eat, you know.
I will always eat at home. Like, whenever I go visit my parents, I like make sure that they have something there, or at least they always have something there whenever I visit.
Parents always, at least in my house, there's always something to eat, which is a blessing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. But when I know that I'm going to my parents, I know it's going to be my cheat day or something, because there's going to be something.
There's going to be freaking homemade tortilla chips. Yeah. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Deep fried.
When was the first time that you realized you had to check your negative self-talk? Do you remember that moment? Or maybe the season or instance?
I mean, a long time ago, for sure. Like, I know it's not something that I was like, oh, now I know. But it's been, I'm well over my 30s, so it's been a long time, I would say. Like, somewhere between the early 20s, for sure. Like, when I was younger, I don't know what the hell are we doing when we were younger? Like,
I don't think that I was very much aware of my thoughts or what was going on in there.
Me neither.
Which I wish there was, you know, having that ability to analyze your thoughts, because it is
as a child.
But it's not something that was practiced. I wish it was.
Me too.
Unfortunately, I think when I was way more intentional about it was when my face was fully broken out.
Oh yeah.
I think
we've all been there.
I think
it's
that's
crazy.
when I really had to check myself, because I tied how I see myself is only going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Or if I see it worse than what it is. Because really at the end of the day, like, you judge yourself more than anybody else. And so if you're seeing yourself a certain way that you don't like, you're only going to really emphasize those thoughts in your head. Yeah. And it's only going to get worse. And you're going to think you look way worse than what you are. Which it was hard, because I would look up like how to fix acne or whatever. And it was like, one of the steps was like, just be grateful with how you are right now. Yeah. And honestly, like, write down things that you're grateful for, because then you start to not focus so much on what your face looks like or whatever it is. If you're going through, a fitness journey or whatever, you might not like how you look right now, but just being grateful with, like, you're going through it, you're figuring it out. So I think that was honestly the first time that I really had to check myself. Because like, even Chris, he would try to, give me compliments, and I'm like, no, like, I would just be so discouraged. And it was like, it didn't matter what people were telling me. It was really about what I thought about myself. So I think that was honestly the first time that I had to check myself.
Yeah. And I think a good exercise in regards to that is like really looking at yourself in the mirror, like wherever you are in that state, and like reminding yourself in that moment, like, you are here, like, you are more than just your body or your face or like skin. Like, you bring so much more to that. You bring so much more to the table than just like your physical meat suit, if you will.
Right.
Like, we've seriously all been through that, like, in our adult life. Like, adult acne is a huge thing. And I do remember being very much in that similar boat where, like, I didn't even want to go into work, because at that time I had to talk to everyone in the lobby, and like being very front facing to our candidates at that point. I'm like in the skin, like with the skin like this. It was horrible. But it is a journey with that, for sure. And just a constant daily reminder again, and a practice that, hey, Monique, girl, you are doing great.
Yeah. Because you don't think about it as an adult. You think you've passed that phase. Like, it only happens to teenagers. And then as an adult, it hits you.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Which then makes you feel even worse, because you're like, no one else is dealing with this, just me. Why? And then you go kind of down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good moment, though. That's true.
Yeah, so now it's like, now I'm even more grateful that I was able to get through it. And if other people are going through it, I can help them there too. Because it was like, I literally felt like, why? And nothing was helping it. And it didn't matter what people told me to do. It didn't matter what I did. It just wasn't getting better. And so now that it has gotten better, it's like, whew, I know I went through it, and I'm thankful. And now I'm extra thankful about what my face looks like now.
Snaps.
Beautiful face, Drake.
Beautiful face. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
How do we feel?
I think it was
Time
good.
is it?